Hello, friends. Welcome. Welcome to the Roots and Renewal series for the Anthroposophical Society in America. This is our second presentation in this series. It's September 16th. The year is 2022, and we had originally scheduled to celebrate the anniversary, the 100-year anniversary of the Christian community tonight. And then we realized that might not be such a great idea because most of the priests are all gathered in a big congregation. They're at the synod together. And when we celebrate the Christian community, we thought it would be good to have some of the priests with us. So we made a little adjustment to the schedule. And tonight we're going to collectively turn our attention to the verse for America. We have a lot of exciting speakers lined up for tonight from across the nation. And to begin, we're going to start with eurythmy. We like to always have the arts in our call, and our guest eurythmist, Alice Stam, is here and has agreed to go first. She has to leave right after this for another engagement. So we're so grateful that you've made the time to be with us. And our speaker for this is Christine Burke. So let's get Alice spotlighted. Are you going to do that for me, Sandra? Or am I going to do that?
I still need to be co-host in order to do it.
Oh, sorry. Okay, here's Alice. Everybody can see Alice really big, right? Okay, and everybody make sure you're muted if you're not speaking, please. And I'll mute myself, and Christine will be ready when you feel ready.
So the America verse from Rudolf Steiner.
May our feeling penetrate into the center of our heart and seek in love to unite itself with the human beings seeking the same goal, with the spirit beings who, bearing grace, strengthening us from realms of light and illuminating our love, are gazing down upon our earnest, heartfelt striving.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Christine. One of the gifts of anthroposophy is that we get to experience eurythmy. Not a lot of people get to have that experience. I feel really grateful. And for the speech arts. I forgot to light a candle when we first came together, so let's take a minute to do that now. If you don't have a candle, that's okay. You can imagine lighting a candle, and I'll light one for all of us that are here on the call. And for the people who watch this later as a recording, we acknowledge you. Thank you. And for those that have crossed the threshold that are also interested in participating in our work. my candle. Okay, now we are going to go across the nation to New York. And our speaker now is Brigitte Baldwin, and she's calling in from the Threefold branch in New York. And she's prepared to share a little bit about this verse, the history of this verse for us. Let me get you spotlighted. There you are. Thank you for being here. Can't wait to hear what you're going to bring for us.
Thank you very much, Angela. And I'm moved doubly because I myself, I came from Germany to America. And so you might still hear it when I start speaking. It's something one cannot hide totally. And so I met this verse when I arrived as a student, postgraduate student for eurythmy. And I met this verse then on the evening meetings of the branch. And I was very touched by it. And today I would like to open up a little bit of the history of it, which is also very moving. And I think we owe it to the verse and to the people who were involved. We should be as precise as possible. And if I miss a detail somebody else knows, please feel free to fill in. I might also have to look here at some notes because, as I said, I'm foreign to this. So we have to look very clearly at two people, which is Rudolf Steiner, born in 1861, and at Ralph Courtney, an American, journalist. I don't really know his profession. He was about 10 years younger than Rudolf Steiner. And he heard about Rudolf Steiner. And in 1906, could you combine that with his work for American paper, the Herald Journal also? He moved to Paris to work there for the American newspaper. And from Paris, he on occasion visited Dornach to hear Rudolf Steiner lecturing and to meet him in person. And so he became a very receptive part of the founding of the Threefold movement. And he was very, very interested in that, to the point that then in 1921, Rudolf Steiner asked him, I think it's best if you as an American person go back to America and try to make this work known on that continent. And a couple of months later, Ralph Courtney did so in May 1921. And soon after, already in 1920, a small group of anthroposophists, or shall we say students of Steiner, had met together in New York City and started to work together. And when Ralph Courtney came back from Europe, he became their most lively and convincing leader. And very soon they were a most active group, entertaining, a rooming house, a laundry, a furniture making shop, and a vegetarian restaurant. All these different branches, very close to Carnegie Hall. And so we know that. And they celebrated their birthday parties like on New Year's Eve of 1922, a birthday party, a personal birthday party. And then were informed, well, that night, the building of the Goetheanum went up in flames. So they had actually unknowingly very intimate connections between New York City and their work and Dornach. You can read it up yourself, the history of Threefold Community on the internet. It says there, they were ablaze with idealism. They threw themselves into pursuing work and social lives driven by ideals of service and goals of social and spiritual improvement. Now, in a smaller vignette, for me, it was very interesting to understand that Ralph Courtney is the uncle to a person who then became a eurythmist, a very strong eurythmist, and for the eurythmy work here in the US, Anne Pratt. And I met her on several occasions when she came to a conference in Detroit, where I was just starting to work as a eurythmy teacher, and then much later again and again, and also at the end of her life in the fellowship, where she always sat right next to me when we did eurythmy together there in the Goethe room. And I could just tell she was a professional eurythmist. Her limbs moved sometimes with more ease than mine. So it was very interesting to find that connection also. Back to Ralph Courtney, who everybody says he became the leader, the guiding light of the anthroposophical work in New York City. And together with some ladies in 1926, he helped them to really proceed with that. They bought property of a farm to really grow there and harvest the vegetables for the vegetarian restaurant in New York City. They bought this farm, and we have to enter into the situation of that time. There was no Tappan Zee Bridge. There was no George Washington Bridge. The Hudson River could only be crossed by boat. So I think that's another historical detail we have to know. So in 1926, they purchased this farm and immediately started their biodynamic farming. And even before that, there is some confusing information, because the wife of Ralph Courtney and another of their lively members of the group, oh, that's the names. The pianist, Gladys Hahn, who lost her hearing. She could not work anymore as a pianist. But these two women were so enthusiastic. They traveled to Koblenz in Germany, at that time Germany, and to study there the biodynamic agriculture, and then brought the technique, what they had barely learned, two women brought it back to Threefold Farm to grow biodynamic vegetables. The work then in Spring Valley and in New York City grew more and more intense, to the point that then Rudolf Steiner wrote a verse, and he said clearly to a friend who was also a member of the group, the only non-American, a Swiss person, he said, please take that and bring this personally to Ralph Courtney for his work. That should be a strengthening for their work there. So this verse came over in 1923 and apparently was written in that year and dedicated to Ralph Courtney as a personal message for his work. And I remind us back to 1921, where Steiner said, it's best if you, Ralph Courtney, go back to the States to make this work known. So there are two indications by Steiner. First, to suggest, Ralph Courtney, please go back to the States. And 2 years later, please, this is the verse which should strengthen your work and the impulses you have. So the work indeed was carried on intensely. And for many, many years, a study group existed in this mood and to these themes, meeting on Thursday night and Sunday morning. So on Sunday morning, actually probably for most of the attendants, their free day. And then they met in the morning. And both meetings carried on for many, many years. I don't have the dates when Ralph Courtney died, so please let me go with that. Of course, it's very clear that the verse was brought over in German, and Ernest Haeckel he translated it immediately into English. And that's the version I met. And I want to be sure with the name.
I think it's Frederick.
Frederick Heckel. Yes, thank you. Frederick Heckel. He made the translation. And so this is the version I met first, and I learned to love it really deeply. And presently I'm attending the branch meetings, which are now in Spring Valley on Wednesday evening, and we open and close our meetings with this verse. And so for many, many years, it became known because of the use of it only with these groups working in New York City and in Spring Valley as the threefold verse. Also because of the first dedication by Steiner to Ralph Courtney, who was so inflamed and enthused for the threefold works, threefold social work. And it went on like that for 49 years. The verse was not used anywhere else as much as we know. And in 1972, there was a conference in Spring Valley with Hagen Bizans, and sometimes I thought it was a big international youth conference, but it's not mentioned in the notes I got. But a conference with members of the Vorstand, like Hagen Bizans from Dornach. And at that point, Hagen Bizans asked the founding members of Threefold Community, who were still alive, could I read at this international conference, could I please read what you know as a threefold verse? And those people who were present, they marked that as that afternoon or evening, and that week where the verse was read and recited in public. And I suppose since then, it was named more and more the verse for America. So I want to be clear about this as much as possible. Also because then tonight we will hear translations into other languages. So most of you probably know that then in 1949, the building was set to really give a housing for the summer conferences, which were held in Spring Valley. And I mean the building of the auditorium. And John Alexandra emphasizes in his notes, just like in Dornach, the Goetheanum, this auditorium was built not for a certain school or for any professional setting where they need a hall for gathering. No, it was built as a hall to celebrate, to receive, and to deliver lectures, events, performances, which would always lead us to spiritual science, with anthroposophy. So there was no other meaning, no other purpose for the auditorium. So that's, I think, all I can say of the notes I have. And my personal feeling or understanding of this verse is, yes, it is indeed I find it very important as a verse for the people in America, in New York, in Spring Valley, but I think all America, to emphasize, may our feeling penetrate into the center of our heart. And I might not be the only European who feel, well, the American people, they sometimes are so emotional, so nostalgic, and compared to European people, much more sentimental. So I found that little formulation actually very helpful also for myself, to just notice that, no, we should really try to penetrate into the center of our heart. And from there, try to find the connection to the spiritual beings of the highest hierarchies. And in that, the verse is really a very direct, in that way, very crafty tool to building that connection. Now, that's my personal sense with that verse. But with that, I could close, and I think we will hear both the original in German and then in English and other languages. Thank you so much. That's all I can say right now.
Thank you. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Can I ask just to confirm, did you say that the verse lived in the threefold community for 49 years
Yes.
and then was opened
Yeah.
up in a
Yeah.
way? Okay.
Yeah. From 1923 to 1923 to 1972.
Okay. So the 7 times 7.
Yes.
Mm. And it's interesting now that we're turning our attention to it in the year 2022.
Yes.
And that comes between the 1921, when Ralph Courtney was asked to come back to America, and 1923, when the verse was given. So we find ourselves in the middle of those 2 dates.
Yeah.
So it's interesting timing that way.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That was beautiful. And I love the idea of having this as a tool, that it's a tool for connection. Okay. So as Brigitte said, we're going to hear some different translations now, and got a few slides to go along, because I know there's different styles of taking things in. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't need to see words on the screen, I invite you to just close your eyes and sit back and let the words enter in without a visual way. But other people like to see the words as someone's speaking them, and it helps them to retain it. So we will have slides. And this is recorded, so maybe you could do it both ways. You know, this time you could close your eyes and just listen to the different translations, and then you could watch the recording and see the slides, or vice versa. Just invite you to settle in, and we're going to hear 3 different, well, we'll begin with German, the original German, and then we'll hear 3 different English translations. We're going to hear Portuguese, Spanish, and then Brigitte helped us to get a Chinese translation. And I'm going to attempt to play a recording of one of our friends speaking it in Chinese. So the Chinese version will have another level, because it's going to be coming through my phone as a recording. So we're going to try a lot of different things over the next few minutes. So let me get my screen share going. And yeah, just thank you again, Brigitte. That was really great way to lead us in. Okay. Okay, do you see a tree on your screen? Okay, that means so far it's working. So I'm reminding us that we're here under this title of the Roots and Renewal. So here's a beautiful image of a tree with the light shining through, and those branches and the leaves spreading out. And hold on, somebody's printing something. Just 1 second, I'm going to mute myself. Okay, because the world's going on around us. So then we turn our attention to this. This tree has these amazing roots.
Angela, we are actually seeing 2 images.
Okay.
So we are also seeing the next slide.
Okay, let me stop the share then. And that. So do you see, let's see. Am I sharing a screen now?
No,
Why do people let me do things like this?
I'm sorry. And when you want to do the share slideshow or whatever version up there at the top.
Right, I'm gonna do slideshow. Oh, but first of all, I need to do screen share.
Yes.
Right,
This is so that everybody gets to take a deep breath.
right.
And then later, when you are the person that's sharing your screen, you can be really forgiving of yourself when you make mistakes like me. Okay. What if I play from, what do you see now? Do you just see one tree or do you see all the slides?
Both, but if you go back and do that,
Swap displays?
yeah,
There.
there you got it. Good.
There.
Okay. So when I go to the next slide, do you just see the tree with the title?
Yes.
Okay.
Well-
Okay, nobody move. Okay, so back to the tree. We've got the sunlight coming through the branches, the leaves, and these amazing roots. And we can use this as a guiding motif to enter into further in, because we already have these amazing artists who brought us this far. And I wanted to acknowledge our dear Rudolf Steiner, and I believe this is a picture of Ralph Courtney. So I wanted to say thank you to both of these individuals for getting us here together tonight. So next we will hear the German, and Helena Burkhart from Auburn, Alabama will be our speaker.
Okay. Do you want her?
Bringe unser Fühlen in unseres Herzens Mittelpunkt und suche in Liebe, sich zu vereinen mit den Menschen gleichen Zieles, mit den Geistern, die gnadevoll auf unser herzliches Streben aus Lichtregionen uns stärkend und unsere Liebe erhellend herunterschauen.
Thank you, Helena. And we'll get to hear the German again at the end of the call. So thank you for that.
Ja.
So the next translation is English, and this is the one that Brigitte referred to. And Christine Burke will be our speaker.
May our feeling penetrate into the center of our heart and seek in love to unite itself with the human beings seeking the same goal, with the spirit beings who, bearing grace, strengthening us from realms of light and illuminating our love, are gazing down upon our earnest, heartfelt striving.
Thank you, Christine. So Frank Agrama will be our next speaker. And this is another English translation. Trying to look in my notes to see where I found this one. So when I put together these slides and was doing research to prepare for our time together, I spent a lot of time on the internet. And this translation I got from the Central Regional Council's website, and it said July 2013. So just to note that. Okay, Frank, when you're ready.
Thank you. May our feeling penetrate to the center of our hearts and seek in love to unite with those who share our goals and with the spirits who look down benevolently on our heart's earnest strivings, sending us strength from realms of light as they illuminate our love.
Wow, thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Angela, and everybody.
Yeah. Okay, we do have another English translation, but we're going to wait and we're going to hear a Portuguese translation. And my friend Jolie translated this with another individual. So Jolie's in Atlanta by way of Brazil. And so this is her translation into Portuguese.
Que nosso sentimento penetre no centro de nosso coração e busque com amor unir-se com os seres humanos que buscam a mesma meta, com os seres espirituais que, repletos de graça, observam nosso sincero e amoroso esforço, fortalecendo-nos a partir dos reinos da luz e iluminando nosso amor.
Thank you. Thank you, Jolie. Now we have a Spanish translation. And this is was translated by my friend Lila Almond Rubio, who is also in Atlanta by way of Puerto Rico. So are you here, Lila? I didn't see you earlier. Yes, okay.
I'm here.
Great, great.
Yeah. Que nuestro sentido penetre al centro de nuestro corazón y busque en amor unirse con los seres humanos buscando el mismo objetivo. Con los seres espirituales que, portando gracia, fortaleciéndonos desde los reinos de la luz y iluminando nuestro amor, están mirando hacia abajo nuestro esfuerzo ferviente y sincero.
Thank you. Oh, these are so beautiful. You guys are amazing. Okay, check this one out. This is Chinese. Thank you, Brigida. Awesome. Okay, this is the one that was translated by Hannah Wheeler, or did she say Hannah?
Hannah.
Okay, and I don't know how to say her. Is it Yan Hong?
Yan Hong.
Okay, thank you. So she took the time to translate this for us. So what I'm going to do is try to play it next to my microphone. And even if it doesn't come through, you can see the amazing writing and just the intention and the work that went into this. I'm just so excited. Okay, let me try.
让我们的情感渗透进心脏中心，并在爱中找寻团结志同道合的人，连结带着恩典的灵性存在， 他们从光明领域强健我们，照耀我们的爱，俯视我们诚挚的、发自内心的努力。
Could you hear that? Do you want to hear it one more time? Because I've got it right here. Let's do it again. I've listened to this like 20 times, you guys. Okay.
让我们的情感渗透进心脏中心，并在爱中找寻团结志同道合的人，连结带着恩典的灵性存在。他们从光明领域强健我们，照耀我们的爱，俯视我们诚挚的、发自内心的努力。
Amazing. Okay. Let me get back on track. Okay, Mary's in Kansas, Central Regional Council. And this third translation is from a website called Living Waters Wellness Resources. And there were many other translations, but I just tried to get some that had a little bit different words and wording. So that's why I chose it. Okay, Mary.
May our feelings reach to our heart's inmost core and seek to unite in love with human beings of like aims, with those spirits who, full of grace, look down on our earnest, heartfelt striving, strengthening us from realms of light and illuminating our love.
Thank you. Okay, how do I make this? There we go. Okay, so yeah. Now we have the opportunity to move into some small groups and just open the space together to sit silently, if you'd like, for a few minutes, or a few, not a few minutes, but a little while, and to consider what you're feeling and what's living in you. Maybe a picture arose, or maybe there were certain words that stood out. As I was preparing, I looked at what was different between the translations, and then I looked for what was the same. Where did I not find much difference? Sort of like in alchemy, when we look for what is different and what is changing. And then out of those two ways of looking, what's the same and what's different, I tried to then apprehend what is essential in the verse. So I offer that as one possible suggestion as we go into the breakout rooms. What we'll do is spend about 12 minutes in the breakout rooms, and it's a free space. So at maybe a halfway point, I'll send a notice to say we're about halfway. And then when we come back, we can harvest a little bit from the groups and just, if there's anything you want to share in the big group. And then we'll hear the German and the first translation again. Or if there's anybody on this call that has another language translation that I wasn't able to find, we would welcome also hearing more. Okay, so Sandra, are you going to help me with the breakout rooms? Sandra, are you there?
I was talking but muted.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 4 each in a room. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
Because let's see how many people we still have, 24. So yeah, maybe 6 rooms then. Okay, here we go.
Okay. And for people that are hopping off the call, thank you so much. We're so glad that you are here with us. Blessings. But if you can stay, please do. So I probably should pause. Okay, welcome back from the breakout rooms. I hope you had a good time connecting with new friends and old and working with the verse. Before we open up for some sharing, we have a special treat. Somebody during the breakout room was working. Let me see if I can spotlight. You guys, this is so cool. Wait, see what happens next. Spotlight Bob and Betty Hare. Okay, are you guys in Opelika? Bob and Betty?
Sorry, couldn't get unmuted.
You're in Opelika, Alabama, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Betty Hare, and
Hang
she,
on, we're having a
okay.
technical difficulty here. It's on.
Okay. In a minute, when she comes back, she's going to attempt to do the threefold verse, the verse for America, in sign language.
Oh, cool.
So we've had German, several different English translations, Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, you know, of course, remembering it's coming from the spiritual world, and we're just trying to get it into a way that we humans can remember and understand. So now we have Betty Hare in Alabama, verse for America.
It's read by Bob Hare.
Oh, Bob's going to read it. Yeah. Thank you, Bob.
May our feeling penetrate into the center of our heart and seek in love to unite itself with the human beings seeking the same goal, with the spirit beings who, bearing grace, strengthening us from realms of light and illuminating our love, are gazing down upon our earnest, heartfelt striving.
Yay. Wow. Thank you. What a treat. That was amazing.
Yeah, very.
Okay, let me take that spotlight off.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bob
Thank
and
you.
Betty.
Did I take the spotlight off, or is it still there?
Um,
Can't tell.
our screen, we're still there.
Okay, hang on.
But the spotlight's off.
Yeah, there
Okay.
you-
Yeah.
So when somebody else speaks, it changes to the speaker?
If you have it set up that way. If not, it's just all the people.
Okay, gotcha.
it's-
Ah, thanks, you guys. Thanks for being forgiving of me. I get a little excited with these things. Okay, so we have a few minutes now. If you are in a breakout room and there's something that you want to bring to the large group, you could raise your hand, and we'll try to make some space and time for each other. Okay, I see you, Martha Loving. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I muted myself.
Great.
I don't have the words in front of me, but what impressed me was something that Signish said was the difference between the word feeling and feelings with an S.
Thank you. You know, I noticed when I was collecting the different translations, I thought you could go back to the German and see, does it say feeling or feeling? Does it say heart or hearts? And then I thought, I'm just gonna bring different ones forward and leave it as something that we can work with. So thank you. Thank you
and
for bringing
also,
that. Mhm.
Also for that reminded me that Brigida said that the closest word for in German was striving rather than aims or goals.
Okay. So say that one more time, please.
That the closest translation from the German is the word striving rather than goals or aims.
So with the human beings seeking the same strivings would be
yeah, I'm not sure.
in that part.
I don't have the words in front of me.
That's interesting because that's what one of the things that Leela and I were talking about in the big room while you guys were in the small rooms was that when she was translating it from, are you still there, Leela?
Yes, I am.
Will you tell us about that experience?
So I was saying that when I was translating the word goal, the human being seeking the same goal, in Puerto Rico, we would say meta. But when I was looking up goal, just like doing some translations online, it didn't find that word at all. And so I thought, well, maybe meta is just a Puerto Rican word. But then I saw Jolie's Portuguese translation, and she used the word meta. So I think meta is the right word, because it's goals isn't really, objetivo is objective. It's not the same, but I really think meta does mean goal. So I want to switch my translation again.
It's a work in progress. Yes. Thank you. Okay, Mary, I see you have your hand up.
Right. So what I noticed in our group was that we all had a different perspective, or we all worked with it differently. But it was clear that it was a very important part of our work, either individually or within our groups. And that we also had these considerations, different considerations of how the translation works, or whether we say it at the beginning of a meeting or at the end, so in a way, all of to me, the different versions create for us like an inner dialogue, an inner seeking even of what do these words mean, how are they used in relationship to each other, what vision do we have with regard to the spiritual world. Anyway, it's a very fruitful kind of discussion and an amazing verse. We're all using it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. So many paths, so many individual ways in. Anyone else? Okay. Well, we can hear it again in German. Helena's going to read it for us in German. And then, because it's a co-created group, and in order to create these vessels and these spaces where we can do this work, there have to be people who are organizing it and agreeing ahead of time and things like that. But I always like to leave some open space for the people that weren't participating consciously ahead of time, but in the moment have arrived and are ready. So that's a preamble to say, I need a volunteer to read the final English version tonight. So we can have Helena's going to read German, and then I'll put up the slide for the English. But if there's someone on the call who hasn't spoken and you want to read it for us, we would love to hear your voice. And that would just require you to let me know. Henry, are you volunteering? Yes. Okay. So I'll put up the slides and we'll hear from Helena, and then we'll hear from Henry, if I can remember how to screen share. Hold on. I think it's this one. Do you see the slide with all the spices on it? Okay, good. So we've passed our breakout rooms. Oops. How do I move? Come on. Oh, here we go. Okay, Helena, we're ready when you are.
Yes, I'm ready. Bringe unser Fühlen in unseres Herzens Mittelpunkt und suche in Liebe sich zu vereinen mit den Menschen gleichen Zieles. Mit den Geistern, die gnadevoll auf unser herzliches Streben aus Lichtregionen uns stärkend und unsere Liebe erhellend herunterschauen.
Thank you. You and the Hares have represented Alabama so beautifully this evening. Thank you, Helena.
Oh, well.
Okay, Henry, here is our English.
May our feeling penetrate in through the center of our heart and seek in love to unite itself with the human beings seeking the same goal, with the spirit beings who, bearing grace, strengthening us from realms of light and illuminating our love, are gazing down upon our earnest, heartfelt striving.
Thank you, Henry. And where are you calling from?
I'm in Rialto, California. That's Southern California, about 60 miles east of Los Angeles.
Wonderful. Thank you. And a whole nother time zone from me. And we'll say thank you to Frederick Heckel for translating that for us too. And again, a thank you to Dr. Rudolf Steiner. And Ralph Courtney, thank you for bringing us together this evening. And a reminder, friends, that we are in preparation now for our annual gathering, the Anthroposophical Society in America. And this year, October 8th through the 10th, that weekend in October, that is often referred to as Columbus Day weekend, but now we're referring to as Indigenous Peoples Day weekend. We'll be gathering in Washington, D.C. at the nation's capital under the banner of Enkindling Connections and the Heart Rose. So we hope that you can join us there. And if you're not able to come in person, we have a whole live stream package so you can still participate across this amazing, interesting medium that we're all learning to use and navigate together. And if you need any information about that, you can visit anthroposophy.org/fall conference or email me. So thank you, friends. And thank you, Christine Burke. Are you still here? Yeah. Christine Burke will be speaking at the annual conference, delivering the Foundation Stone Meditation. So we'll hear your voice again in DC live for those of us that can come. And thank you, friends. Thank you, Sandra, for your help with the tech. You're a lifesaver.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could.
And next
thank
time,
you, Angela.
You're welcome. You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
My pleasure. When we come
Thank you,
back on this
Angela.
program, it'll be October 16th. And we are going to celebrate the 100 years of the Christian community just a month later. And Craig Wiggins will be here with some of his colleagues, and we'll be celebrating that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you,
Thank you
Brigida.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
Thank you, friends.
Thank you.
Best wishes to everyone.
I'm so glad we did this. Oh, me too.